right. Well, welcome to the Chicago Southland International Film Festival Q&A for our informational documentaries. And so here I have in front of me, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you out of, I think we have 7 or 8 documentaries. So I would like to just do some introductions before we get started with our Q&A. So first we'll start off, since I see to my left, I have Paul Restivo. If you would just say who you are, where you're from, and what your movie is.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Suzanne. My name is Paul Restivo, and I am a director and editor from Chicago. My film was Touch and Go Chess Party, and it is an experimental documentary about Cecil Locke in his 26-foot-long, 200-pound folding chess table that he sets up outside of the Art Institute of Chicago.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And next, Phil Como. Monsieur, comment, bonjour, comment allez-vous? Je suis très bien.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'm doing fine. I'm in Montreal and there's no snow, so that's great. My film is called Belle-Île en Mer, Belle-Île en Acadie, Belle-Île in Acadie, and it's the story about exile, the collective memory, cultural collective memory, and finding your roots. I shot it in France and on the East Coast in Canada.
Great, thank you. Okay, Susana Torres, I know you're here as part of the the Representation Project.
Yes.
And there were several directors involved in that film, Home, Jocelyn's story, correct?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead then.
My name is Susana Torres. I was at a summer program with the Representation Project when Jocelyn's story film was made, with other participants too. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here. So I kind of took over the film due to COVID and we couldn't reach them. So actually my film was, Jocelyn is actually my friend. I knew her story, and the girls that were part of the film too, they didn't know what to film. So I told them like, hey, I have a friend. I don't know if you guys are interested. So then we looked into it and they actually liked her story. So we got to film it. The film is about, Jocelyn is not from here. She's from Honduras. And she basically tells how she crossed the border, how she came here to the United States. She actually landed here on 9/11, which was, she didn't know what was going on. I don't know if all of you guys seen my film, but if you guys haven't seen it, I encourage you guys to see it. It's actually, for me, I think it's very powerful. It has a lot of meaning to me, just because I know my parents, a lot of my friends, their parents are not from here, and they tell their story of how they come. So I could actually relate to her story. So that's a little bit about my film.
Well, thank you, Susanna. I appreciate that. It was a joy to see your film. These guys here probably have not seen your film yet, but everybody gets a free pass to come on to our virtual festival starting on October 19th. That's when everything starts streaming out. So yeah, I hope you guys will come on and check out all the films that you're competing against. Okay, so next we have Mark Zalewski. I think you're in Chicago, right?
Yep, I'm in Chicago. My film is up for debate. It's actually my MFA thesis film at DePaul University. But it's a film, informational documentary about inner city debate leagues, which began in part in Chicago in the mid-90s, using the activity of competitive debate to get inner city students up to grade level and off to college.
Great, thank you. And Jacob, gosh, you look just like you do in the movie. So Jacob, tell us a little bit about yourself and your film.
My name is Jacob Pincus. I am a senior in high school, right outside of Cleveland, Ohio. And my film is about the Tree of Life Synagogue shooting in 2018, where my family used to belong for many years. My sisters celebrated their bat mitzvahs there when we used to live in Pittsburgh. So after the shooting, my family went back for a funeral and went to the rally, and it's kind of about rebuilding a community after some destruction, but also about how like unity is always stronger than hate in times of struggle. I actually have seen Susanna's film because we were in another film festival together. We were the Civic Life project. So I was competing against yours, and yours had a lot of votes. So I was like, wow, it was really great. So it's nice to meet the filmmaker.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. That's serendipitous. We don't often have two from another festival. We do see our films at lots of other festivals, but I'm always looking to see, if there's any little connections like that. So that's pretty neat. So you're all here because your films were selected out of a lot of films to screen in our festival. And because of COVID, we're going virtual this year. And in a way, we're embracing it because we're a new festival. We're in our third year. So we're still trying to build an audience. And in a way, this is a new way for us to connect with a whole different audience, because we're really about bringing everyone together, the festival environment, everyone coming and just sharing and connecting and meeting. And it's just a great experience. And what we want to build at our festival is that festival experience. People are used to coming to just see a movie, but it's all about coming and having a festival experience, not just seeing a movie. So we're trying to build that, and we've been blindsided by having to go all virtual. But the joy of it is probably I wouldn't have been able to get all of you on stage at the festival, because in 2 years, it's been very difficult to amass a group on stage. So I feel that this is just very serendipitous that we're able to do this. So thank you for coming on the Zoom chat. And let's get down to talking about these films. By the time the audiences see this Q&A, they will have seen your films. And so hopefully we can unpack a couple of things. So I'm going to start with Up for Debate. That's Mark Zalewski. All right, so I think the most interesting part of your film was the fact that I don't know a lot about debate in Chicago, even though I live here. So I think that it was informational in that respect, that you do introduce us to the debate world, what it's like for these kids to go through that. But the choices that you made of Chad Tucker and Kaylin, yeah, they were incredible. I don't know if I knew how they had to learn to speak so fast. There was a moment in the film where you're listening to them speak that fast. We have no idea what they're saying. And I like to speak fast, but when I travel to foreign countries, they tell me to slow down. And so I was amazed at that. But if you will, I'd like to just know how you got involved in it. Like, what drew you to make a film about these two and the debate team? And of course, I think it was Les, the guy who founded it, the Chicago Debate. So just a little bit about how that came to you. What made you want to make this movie?
Right, yeah. And when I was trying to figure out what to do for my MFA thesis, I knew I wanted a documentary, and I have varied interests, but one of my background is in speech and debate. I competed in high school and college, and then coached college debate for a few years. And then I had heard about this program, Inner City Urban Debate Leagues. Like I said, started in Chicago and a couple other cities in the 90s, and then expanded. The idea was to use debate to get kids that are underserved, inner city, less educational opportunities, give them a chance to elevate their academic strengths using debate as an activity, a vehicle for that. When it first started, people didn't think that inner city urban youth could compete at the same level as the traditional debate schools, which are mostly suburban, costs a lot of money to be in debate, buying research, traveling to tournaments. So they had thought originally maybe, oh, let's do a lower form of debate, and Les in the film even says, no, we're gonna go all the way. These kids can do it, we can build them up. And they were able to pretty quickly compete at the upper levels. It started at the top of Chicago public schools, the magnet schools, the Whitney Youngs, but it has filtered down over the years to be across all of CPS, more than 80 schools. And it has transplanted to cities around the country, 40 plus cities, Philadelphia. I think Tulsa was coming online when I was making this film. So yeah, that was a really interesting angle that I wanted to highlight, that debate has existed for many years, Harvard, Yale, but the accessibility has always been a problem. So this film is about that, and the Chicago Debate League formed out of that, and they have then replicated that around the country as a nonprofit.
Yes, thank you. No, I thought it was an eye-opener of a film, of a world that goes on in Chicago that we hear about when it hits the news or in the papers, but we don't really know how it's formed. And so the film was fascinating on that respect. And I
Yeah,
really
trying to
enjoyed.
give kids an opportunity to earn scholarships that aren't sport related.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was great. And to learn that the kids didn't really know they could be so good at debate. They understood, like, I love how the mother tells her daughter, go argue with them. You argue with me, so go learn how to do it right.
She regretted that decision eventually.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating stuff. Okay, thank you. I'll do some more and then we'll come back for another question. Okay, I'll go next to Phil Camo. Your picture is also an eye opener of something that many of us don't think about or know about even. I happen to live in Newfoundland for some time, so I lived in Canada, obviously, by living in Newfoundland, and I knew about Acadia, Acadie. I knew about the Acadians. I had been to Cape Breton in Nova Scotia, right? So these are all little pieces, but when I got into your film, I realized, wow, I never knew this. So it's a beautiful story. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved in that project.
Well, first of all, I'm Acadian myself. It's a cultural minority in Canada. You probably heard of the Quebecers, people living in Quebec. That's the biggest French minority in Canada. But the second biggest is the Acadians. And we live mostly in Eastern Canada, but obviously we live all over the place. In 1755, the Acadians were deported by the British because they wanted to take over the lands, and they won. And so the Acadians were deported all over the place. Today you have Acadians in Maine, in New England states, in Louisiana. In Louisiana, they call themselves Cajuns. Yeah. It's the same culture, Acadian, Cajun. Also in Texas, there's a lot of Cajuns. And some were deported to England, some were deported to France. And so I wanted to do a story on that, but on a personal basis, in the sense that, because this happened a long time ago, refugees still haunt me at night, still haunt me when I hear news of 65 million refugees around the world that have no home. It really disappoints me that the world just can't get along, you know. So a few years back, I went to this island in France called Belle-Île-en-Mer, and it's in Brittany, France, and not far from England. And to my surprise, there was an Acadian community living there that I was not aware of, and that not many people were aware of in those days. And these people, after being separated by their homeland, if you want, still call themselves Acadians, which flabbergasted me. Being isolated for so long and still keeping a culture that was originally in Canada. So I thought someday I want to do a film with them. And we have in the Maritime Provinces an Acadian World Congress every 5 years since 1994. And people from all over the world, from the diaspora, come every 5 years to get together and see their cousins. And so I found out that there was a whole bunch of people from Belle-Île-en-Mer who had decided to come to Canada for the first time ever to see their homeland. And so I contacted them and I said, could I do a film with you and follow you from France all the way here and then go around on your old lands and also participate at the Acadian World Congress? And they said, yes, of course. And that was the beginning of it. And then I went to France. This was just before COVID, and was able to shoot there and then over here. And it was great. It was a mind-opening experience of people who have kept a culture going, even though they were so far away. And I thought, this is great. That means that even though if you can be a refugee, even though you are a refugee, it doesn't mean that you're going to lose your culture necessarily. You might add another culture to yours, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to lose your identity, your cultural identity. So that's what I wanted to explore.
That's great. I think that you achieved that most certainly in your film. It was very interesting to meet the people, to learn the stories, and obviously the cinematography is beautiful. How could it not be with such beautiful countryside, beautiful people? I love the generational stories. I think you touched on the right people as your subjects. I'm sure all of you had lots of people that maybe you talked to or worked with in your pictures that ended up getting cut out. But I always wonder who who you choose to keep in and who you wish you could have kept. But I think that the people that we did meet in your film were wonderful and very free and easy with the camera to tell us what they were feeling. And the young and the old, generational, it was really quite beautiful. So I commend you on that documentary. Very unique, very different.
Thank you.
I would think that all of Canada would be very, very proud of this film.
Yes, it's traveling quite well in Canada. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to move on a little bit here. I'll move over to Paul Restivo. Paul, you made a movie, Touch and Go Chess Party, about Cecil, who brings his chess set, or not set, but chess table, this huge thing, 26 feet long, sets it up. And I have walked by that table on Michigan Avenue. And literally, when I saw your movie, it was kind of those things where, oh, wow, I've walked by that. I've seen that. But it was packed with guys standing there playing chess. I mean, I was not going to stand and try to take my turn, but and then there's your movie. So you obviously were fascinated by him as well, so much so to go and make a movie about him. So just tell us how you met Cecil and how he would have agreed to let you film all that.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm glad you liked it. That's one of the things that made me want to do the piece, just kind of the appeal of so many people have walked past that. It's on one of the busiest intersections in the city. So much foot traffic, so much car traffic. The bus line's right there, the whole thing. It's one of those iconic kind of spots where if you see a photo of it or a video, you're like, I know that. So I'm glad that kind of read that way. But the reason why I wanted to make this film was because I've been into chess for a long time. My best friend Adam and I actually we learned how to play chess together in high school. He ended up going to the Marines. I stayed in Chicago and went to college and did all that. And by the time I finished my undergrad degree, he finished his service. He came back and we connected all of those years by playing chess online. And then when he got back, we were able to play in person again. And he grew up in the city. I'm from the suburbs originally, and I live in the city now, but he refound Cecil's tables and he would go every single day. Cecil sets up 6 days a week. At least pre-COVID he did. Right now he's doing about 3 or 4 days per week, depending. But Adam would go 6 days a week and I would go most of those days too. That was in between undergrad and grad school for me. And me and Cecil started talking. He's just such a genuine guy, such a nice dude. And the thing about chess that's always fascinated me and made me love it so much is that it is so universal. I met so many different people at those tables. I met people that didn't have a dime to their name, and I met people in 3-piece suits. And the coolest part about it was that, hey, if you're better at chess, you're gonna win. The playing field's even because chess is just like math, like Adam actually says in the film. Anyone can learn it. And I thought that it was such an interesting kind of microcosm of a community. And Cecil really built that community. The chess community in Chicago is huge. A lot of people don't know that because it's such a niche thing. It's oh yeah, I know chess, the pawn goes 2 moves sometimes. A lot of people are kind of casual with it, which I was too for quite some time. But I thought it was so interesting to see just all of the different people and how everyone got along and how Cecil was really promoting a good kind of change in that area. Because there would be regulars, a lot of his friends, a lot of people that would come help out that he met there that needed, kind of some extra help to get back on their feet. And he provided that just by, hey, look at this, kind of kooky 26-foot long chess setup. Let's see what this is about. So yeah, I thought it was really fascinating. And I just kind of talked to Cecil and said, hey, I want to do a piece on this. I think people would love to see it. And at first he was like, I don't know, like a few news outlets had done small stories and a few people had approached him in the past and it all fell through. But then we kept going to these tables for years. And I was like, Cecil, let's do this. Like, are you up for it now? And eventually he was like, you know what, let's try it out. Why not? And it's been really cool to see how this film has traveled and how, seeing him as the chess player, as the artist, as the curator of this whole experience. Like I just wanted to kind of put that out into the world because he's curated every single detail. He's a sign painter by trade. So he did all of the painting on the tables, all of the colors, all the stuffed animals and stuff. So it's really just an immersive experience. And that's what I was trying to convey with my project.
Well, thank you for that. I think you did. I think it just comes in maybe a little over 3 minutes. It's a short film. And what's amazing about that is that, he had a lot to do and it was a brilliant use of time-lapse photography to show how quickly that thing gets set up or how not quickly it gets set up. But I love the fact that it's 3 minutes and in 3 minutes you were able to tell a lot, obviously in a subject who wasn't going to want to be all out there and be in the film, right? So and it was very interesting how you had to work around not really having a subject, even though it's his thing. So that was pretty cool. I hope you all will see that. And I wonder, Mark, have you ever walked down Michigan Avenue and seen that chess table?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have. On
Yeah.
my way to edit my film.
Okay, I want to move on to Jacob Pincus. Your film, Stronger Than Steel, I believe that's the name of it. I have it, yeah, Stronger Than Steel. Right, so you can talk a little bit about how you were inspired. However, I think it speaks for itself in that it was the incident with the Tree of Life Synagogue. But you have made a little movie that a lot of people like to make about what's happening in our society in terms of documenting protests or documenting unrest or unsatisfaction or tragedy. But you did this in a very unique little way, and that is why your little film has made it into our festival. I thought the technique of using yourself as the subject to speak to was very brave. A lot of people wouldn't do that. And it's a tough choice to make. So I thought it worked. But tell me about that process. What made you decide, to actually make the film, which is a lot, and then to put yourself in it as the main interviewee?
Yeah, thank you. It was definitely, I had a lot of back and forth with myself about if I should be in the film. I definitely like to be behind the camera. I have been making films the past 4 or 5 years. I'm young, but I'm an aspiring filmmaker, and I've been making films. Stronger Than Steel was my first film that I was like really proud of, that I sent to festivals, like my official film. But I've been doing client work and photography and projects on the side, as well as things in school. So that was kind of like building up into wanting to make some project. And basically when we heard the news, we were in big shock, and my parents were planning on going to Pittsburgh on Tuesday, and I wasn't going to go with them. But then I asked them at like midnight the night before if I could join, and I brought my camera and a microphone and some SD cards, not because like I wanted to capitalize on this, but it was more like I guess film is how I process the world and my emotions, and I didn't really have any direction going in. I kind of we went to the rally, and I kind of took out my camera and just started filming. And then I asked one person for an interview, and then another, and then that got me into another. But I think something that all filmmakers struggle with is trying to, especially documentary filmmakers, like trying to cover a topic but still keeping it intimate and personal. talking about like the Exodus from Egypt, it's less interesting if we talk about a whole nation. But if we talk about one person's story in that Exodus, that's what people remember. So trying to figure out what the personal story was, and not just make it like a news story or news clip, was what I wanted to focus on. And while this was like my story, I was really going back and forth if it was part of my story, if I should be in it or not. And even by the end, I was like, I don't want to like, oh, this is too much about me. Like, I'm not trying to do that. So there was a lot of back and forth. But I thought it was important for somebody to drive the story, and I guess that person was me. I don't plan on being in my films in the future. Maybe like some cameos, some Hitchcock or Scorsese cameos in the corner. Love those, but I am proud of the work that I did and how I was able to tell kind of my story and my perspective through it, while still telling a broader message. I also didn't want to make this about anti-Semitism specifically, because I think there's a lot of hatred in the world and hatred in America, and I didn't want it to be maybe isolating, or even for an audience member to have to empathize with somebody. I wanted them to know what it felt like, because I feel like everybody has an experience where they felt marginalized or they felt attacked in some way, and making this more about fighting hatred in society, I thought was more important than just anti-Semitism, which is real and is an issue. I wanted everybody to feel like they had a place in this story. So that was really important to me.
Well, you did achieve that, I think, in the cinematography alone, just your shots of the protest scenes. They were handled in such a warm way and such a loving way that we were able to get a sense, I think, of everybody's feelings without actually speaking to them. So you being the voice. And of course, I think the doctor that brought you into the world was killed, right? So
it was my father's like my father's doctor. He wasn't my not my delivery doctor, but my father's doctor for like 13
right.
years. So yeah.
So I mean, there were those personal connections where you really did have. So it made sense to have you in the film because it did connect to you, but it didn't have to be about you because it was about so many others. And I really thought you painted a really sweet portrait of that just section of town, that synagogue, and then all the people that came out to support you. So I commend you for the film. Not an easy topic to take, especially in today's world, but something very important to make. I think that you need to make a movie like that, and you need to keep letting people see it. So try to keep getting it out there as much as possible is what I would say. But so good enough to make our festival. And I'll tell you, our judges are tough. We don't pick just anything. You guys are special and your films are very special. And it's been very, very difficult for us to decide who wins. That's going to be insanely hard. So, but I got to move on. I'm so terrible with time. I'll move to Susanna now. And I know you said a little bit about Jocelyn in the beginning, how she's your friend. But it is a movie about a young girl who comes to this country with her mother on September 11th, 2001. And so that right there, I think if you pitch that to anyone as far as here's my story, their ears are going to perk up. That's definitely like, oh, really? What goes with that? And so it becomes a very personal story, not so much about 9/11, even though it's steeped in that. So I would like you just to speak a little bit about Jocelyn, perhaps now and how she's doing now, and how her mother felt about you making this story, even though I don't think her mother's in the film other than a photograph maybe at the end. So
Yeah, so actually she came alone. She didn't come with her mom.
well,
Her
that's
mom
right.
was already here.
That's
Yeah,
right.
when she came.
Yes, that's right. She had to
So
look at the
actually,
sweater. Yeah.
yeah. So actually, her mom doesn't know about the film. I've never showed the film to her mom. And actually, her mom is not doing that good right now. She just recently had surgery, but she's okay. She's doing okay. And I'm thinking about showing her because she doesn't know about the film that I made. But the thing is that I do have to add subtitles to the film in Spanish because she doesn't speak English. Jocelyn, she's doing good. She's with her two girls, you know, at home due to COVID. Well, she is a stay-at-home mom, and I'm excited for her. She's actually, I didn't. Oh no, this didn't came out in her film. She's a lash tech, so she does. She's like she puts lashes on and everything. She actually, her and her husband, they have a little small business now. They customize stuff. It's really exciting, you know. She's my friend and I support her in whatever she wants to do. She has no idea that our film is getting to such, you know, film festivals and everything.
Wow.
I don't really talk to her about it, but I know I have to, like, because sometimes, you know, the time I'm like, oh my God, I don't have time, or she's too busy because she's a mom or she's working. So, and now with her, with her mom, so it's kind of, sometimes I don't have time to tell her, or when we're together, everyone's here together at my house and the other people don't know about it. So it's like pretty hard, but I'm excited for her. I'm excited for the film. I got to meet a lot of new people. Like I didn't even know Jacob until he said that he was competing against my film.
Well,
Thank you guys. Thank you, everyone.
I think Jocelyn's mother, I mean, if she can take it, would be so proud. I mean, I know Jocelyn as a subject in the film. I think it's difficult for all of you if your subject is upset and crying. I know in Phil's film, people were very moved and we would see tears. And the same with Jacob's. And of course, Jocelyn cries quite a bit. She can't help it. I think what a brave subject she was to sit there and tell her story, because I could see how difficult it was and how she just wanted to sob and she had to get the words out between the sobs. So it was difficult, but I would hope one day that she and her mom will know how many hearts this film has touched. I mean, I know all the judges in my festival that saw this film, everybody was touched enough to put you in the running as to compete against all these guys here. So these are all some great films. So I know I have to wrap it up soon. I'm so terrible about that. Even on stage, they have to kick me off. But I have to go around and just ask one other question. I would like to know from each of you the sort of, if any happy accidents happened on your film, because I know that can happen, or if anything really horrendous happened that set you back. So I will start with Paul and I'll go around. So just tell me, were there any happy accidents? And if so, what were they? Or if there was anything absolutely terrible that happened and how you got through it. Paul, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I just wanted to preface it by saying after this question, I actually have to go because I'm teaching a class. If that's okay, I emailed you yesterday. I meant to mention at the beginning.
Thank you.
But yeah, so happy accidents, I would say a lot of happy accidents happen just because similar to some other people, I didn't go in with a master plan really. I just knew the type of coverage that I wanted to get and the people that I kind of wanted to speak to there and all of that stuff. I would say the whole thing is a bit of a happy accident because the process was so long to kind of convince everyone to be a part of it. It was a super micro crew. It was just me and my buddy Adam doing everything for it, down to delivery of the project and the voiceover and all that. So
Wow.
on the other end of that though, the first day that we were shooting, we got there super early and it takes Cecil a little over 2 hours to set up his full thing, the full table and all that. So we got there before Cecil. Awesome. Like we're ready to roll. We're gonna have a full day shoot. Cecil comes, everything's going great. We're shooting how he's setting up, all of that stuff. And I'm not even kidding. The second he finishes setting up, the clouds all pour in and it just starts pouring. 2 full hours of him setting up and he immediately needs to start tearing down. And I was just like, oh my goodness. Like not even for, like me and Adam coming to shoot and doing all that, I could care less. We'll come back another day. I was like, oh my goodness, like Cecil, does that happen a lot? Because, the weather in the city, it can go from super nice to really rainy very quick. So sadly, it was such a bad storm that he had to completely break down, and we had to reschedule that shoot day, which once again, not a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but I was like, oh my goodness, like Cecil, that sucks. Because and also like it's a donate to play type of situation, and he's been doing that
Right.
as like a street performer. He has a street performer's like license, the credentials for that. So not only is it like he had to pay to take a bus to a train to get there, to set up for 2 hours just to break down to go home, it's like that's a day missed of work then. And yeah, I would say that was the worst part.
That would be the worst. Yeah, that's like another one of our filmmakers. They built a boat for their film, and the first day they lost the boat. So I mean,
Oh,
that can be just a real setback. But you know, like all filmmakers, you figure out a way to move forward. So
absolutely.
thank you for that, and thank you for joining us. I
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to see all of your films.
They're all
Honored to be a part of
good.
the festival.
You all have made some wonderful films, but thank you, Paul. Thanks for joining us.
Of course. Thank you so much. I'll see you all later.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm going to head down to Jacob now, ask you for any happy accidents on your picture or anything that was absolutely horrific and you thought, oh my God, what am I going to do now? Jacob.
Yeah, so I was new to filmmaking-ish when I first filmed it, and talking to strangers is something that I've gotten better at since then. But figuring out who to ask, especially in the middle of this rally, and people are kind of like focused on the cause and like, oh, we want to talk to this. It's like I was like 16, I was 16, like with my little camera. But I went up, this guy was walking alone. He was wearing this Charlie Brown outfit, and he's in the film, and he's wearing this American flag sweatshirt, and he's like wearing, this older man, he's wearing like goofy clothes and like a big cross, and he has like a sign that says like welcome Muslims. And I was like, wow, this seems like a good guy to talk to. He seems like a personality, and he wasn't with anybody. So I went up to him and spoke to him. He was actually a priest in Pittsburgh. And then I told him about maybe me making a video. And then he's like, oh, you need to talk to this guy who's also in the film. And he was the head of the Center for Islam in Pittsburgh. I forgot the exact name. And he was on, the man I interviewed was on Anderson Cooper like 30 minutes, 45 minutes beforehand. So I only found out afterwards, but it was kind of cool realizing that like I'm like this 16-year-old just interviewing the same guy that Anderson Cooper was interviewing 45 minutes before. And I was like, oh, maybe this filmmaking thing isn't such a, it can be cool. And then the terrible thing is like, I'm, you know, anytime you sit down to edit, it's always just like, oh no, what now? So I'm always scared of the editing process, but it took me like a long time to figure out a story. Also being in school, when I'm really focusing on a project, I want to like really focus. So I tried to do some stuff and then I put it away for like 4 months, 5 months. And then by the end of the school year, summertime, I was like, let's focus. And I spent like hundreds of hours the first like few weeks of summer trying to figure that out. So like having that in the back of my mind for months, like, oh, I have all this footage. I need to figure out a story to tell. That's always really stressful, but it came out in the end.
Yeah, I think that you did do a good job because there was a lot that needed to be in the film to convey your message, but you did it in a short amount of time, which is I'm always impressed with how much you can do in just a few short minutes. Was yours 6 minutes or something, I think, or was it 12?
It's like it's just under 7, just under 7.
So it's one of the shorter ones. And I remember thinking
Yeah.
that, you know, and how do you end? A lot of times the ending of a picture is the hardest thing to do. That's something I look at in all of the films when I'm judging is the beginning and the end, basically. A lot of the others, but the ending is sometimes tough. And yours ended really on a beautiful note. You perfectly ended that. I mean, there could have been so many ways to end it. And that comes, I'm sure, in the editing room, but I think you did a good job with how you did end it, with just having that voice. You could hear the voices still still hear the voices of people, what they're saying in their protest calmly, just fading into the background. It's just really well done. So whatever you had to do from all those hours sitting there editing, I think it paid off. I know sometimes I ask directors if it's their final cut and they say, what, real, what, final cut? No, never. And
Yeah.
I've seen it 5 times. I want it to be finished. But I thought it was, you know, in that short amount of time, you wrapped that up pretty well. So thank you for
Yeah,
your.
thank you for having me in the festival, and it's been
Thanks.
really great
I'm
hearing
so
from
excited.
the other filmmakers.
I'm going to ask Mark now for your happy accidents and anything horrendous that happened with.
Yeah, a lot of constraints, just even logistically and filming within schools. Chicago Public Schools was great. Their legal department, and they changed lawyers mid-year. I filmed over 2 years on this, and their legal department changed, so I had to redo all the contract and legal. So my amount of filming I could film was actually really reduced. There were tournaments I wanted to go to. The happy accident, I interviewed probably around 30 to 40 students, but Kaylin and Chad definitely jumped out, and you can see why from the film. She's great, he's great. And the first year they weren't partnered together. This is partner debating where you debate with somebody. But then the happy accident, the next year they were partnered together. And the first year, Kaylin had made it to the Chicago City Championships elimination rounds, which is the first time in their school that any team had made it to the elimination round. So that was a great moment. And then the next year, her senior year, the goal was to go farther into the elimination rounds and try to, get to the final round. And I was building up for that when I'm filming. And then the week before, her coach said, oh yeah, she can't make it to the tournament. She's got a college interview, I think at Stanford or something great like that. And I go, Stanford, come on, I need her here. That's my storyline. And so that story went out the window at that point, and I had to figure out in the editing process. And so it became more of an informational documentary at that point, because that narrative through line just kind of fizzled away. They still did great together, and you can hopefully still see their chemistry and their partnership come out. But that was almost a happy accident that turned into a constraint.
No, yeah, no, that was, thank you for that, because it was interesting to see how they seemed made for each other in that respect, so I guess that would be a happy accident. It doesn't seem that way in the film. It just seems like, oh, so here they are again together debating. So,
Yeah.
but like I said, at the front end, hearing them practicing and speaking fast like that, I think that was a part of debate that I didn't know was so key.
That form of debate, policy debating, it's all about getting as much information out to each other. And actually the speaking is less important, because you actually share with the other side your case, and they give you their case, so you can see what they're going to present, but technically you have to speak it for it to be on the record. So that's the word vomit technique that debate is known for.
It was incredible. I mean, I was quite impressed by that. And that was a piece that I learned from the film that I didn't quite understand that process. So thank you for that. I'm going to whip down now to Susanna. If you had any moments that were really difficult, or any happy accidents that, wow, that worked. I didn't think it would, but it did.
Yeah, so we were 5, right? 5 filmmakers. So that was the difficult part, that some girls had different opinions. So everyone had to work with each other. I'm actually an open-minded person, so I was like, okay, let's get yours and yours and put them together. But some girls were like, no, like mine is better. But at the end of the day, our film, I think my film was, it came out good. And that's pretty much it. Just working with a lot of people could be difficult at times, but you just have to be an open-minded person. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, a happy ending. Our film, we got to film festivals. And I think that's the most important thing. At the end of the day, everyone got together and worked with what we have.
Well, that's wonderful, because when we're screening to choose films in the festival, we looked at a lot more documentaries, and then we chose, I think we have 7 or 8 that we chose to show in the festival. So yeah, when we look at a documentary, we don't always know what went on behind the scenes, but that's amazing for me to hear that, because it seemed like a very focused picture. So whatever you did, you got everyone together to focus on Jocelyn because it was her story. And I thought that it was a very brave thing for her to do. And I'm not surprised that when I saw the team of filmmakers, that there was probably some push and pull there, but I think you guys did a really nice job. It all came together. So
No, thank you.
we're very proud to be
Thank you, guys.
Mhm. And I want to run to Phil now. Yours was actually one of our more longer films for the documentary category, in just under a half hour, which I love too. I love digging into a little bit more meat in a documentary, but it did not seem that long. It moved along so beautifully and flowed with that beautiful cinematography. And of course, using some of the regional music was wonderful. I think that's a really strong point in the film. So for its length, yeah, it just cruised along, but there's a lot there. And I know you had to film a lot. And so I wonder, what would your comments be in terms of the experience, happy accidents or anything going wrong, or someone not wanting to be talked to, or anything like that?
And I know everybody wanted to be part of the film, but no, logistics was a challenge at first, because they live on an island. Some people miss the boat. So that meant they would miss the bus, they would miss the train, they would miss the flight in Paris to be able to fly to North America. So it was scary at first. I thought, oh my, am I gonna miss people? Sometimes when you lose your plane tickets, you lose them. You know, you can't get reimbursed, or anyway. Finally, everybody arrived. But my biggest surprise was with an elderly woman who's a grandmother, who was supposed to come with her husband. And her husband, they'd been planning on coming to the World Locating Congress for years, and her husband died just before. So she decided to bring her granddaughter. And I thought that was the best thing ever. And through her daughter, we get to see the transfer of culture between the grandmother and her granddaughter, who's about 15 years old. So that to me was my biggest surprise and my happiest surprise in the film, because it wasn't planned, and it turned out to be beautiful scenes. And so I kept it in the film. Actually, I end the film with these two. Yeah.
Yes, I remember that well from the film, because she does say that she had meant to come with her husband and that it was not meant to be, and that she brings the granddaughter. And so, yeah, for your film, I mean, that was almost like the perfect thing, really. But for that family, it was obviously sad, but they made the best of it. So I did find that a very poignant piece of your film. I also loved the music. You had the young girl on the fiddle playing some good old Acadian fiddle music. That was great. I think a film like that, you need to incorporate, you're talking about culture, you needed to incorporate some of the music. And I think that was very well handled. I also loved, you know, at the end of all your pictures, I'm someone who watches the credits to the end. I don't stop the film until there's nothing left for me to see or hear, because I'm always waiting to see if you guys are going to put something at the end that's going to excite me or freak me out or make me cry. And what I love about Phil's film was just the idea of when you want to credit all the people that have helped you and given you money and thanks to. He used his thanks to and broke it down into gold, silver, and bronze. I thought that was really unique and beautiful to see. I've given money to pictures before, and in the movie theater, I wait till I see my name come down on the screen. I'm like, yes, there I am. I gave money to this movie. But to see it listed under a gold or a bronze or a silver category was so Academy Awards, you know? So I really love that. And I just want to ask you, what made you decide to do that? I mean, had you seen it?
Well, because it was financed through Kickstarter, social financing. So obviously some people gave more than others, and so I thought, how do I put their names in alphabetical order? No, that wouldn't be fair, because some people gave twice as others, and some people actually were very, very generous. So a lot of people wanted to see the film done, and so I thought, okay, I'm just going to be fair and put it in alphabetical order, but through 3 categories, you know. So I divided the people who gave a few $100s versus those who gave $25, etc. So
Well, I thought
yeah.
that was great. Yeah, I love that. I always encourage people to watch the credits because you never know what directors are going to shove in there that is fun. Or, and of course, with our big blockbusters, we always wait to see if there's a teaser, don't we, for the next movie. So I'm that last person in the movie theater or in my screening room. I'm the last one waiting. And I ask all my judges to watch all the credits because you will see something at the end, maybe. But anyway, with that, I probably have to wrap up because I've gone way over time. So they're going to have a tough time with me in the editing room, I'm sure. So I want to thank you again all for coming to chat with me today and for entering your films in our festival. I said before that we're a young festival, we're growing. So we are very appreciative of anyone who enters our festival. And with you guys, we have an incredible array of topics and styles. You're all very different. You've all done very different things, but you've all made equally important and enlightening films. So I thank you for that. And I wish you good luck. We got to pick a winner, which is going to be really, really hard. Really hard. And I'm sorry that Taimur could not be with us. We have another man in the category from Iran, and he made a movie about a little girl who has to gather water for the family, but there are crocodiles in the water. So you can just imagine the horrificness of that. So the things that we learn in these stories, but I love it. And so it's fun for us too to have two guys from Chicago, you know, with Paul and Mark, locals. And if we were having our festival in person, we would have been dragging you to the stage. So, but thank you all for coming and doing this with us today. Thank you for being part of our festival. Good luck with your films. Please stay in touch. Please use your free pass to watch our movies. And we will announce the winners on Sunday, October 25th, I believe. We will have a pre-recorded announcement. So watch for that. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. And
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.